But it's 8:25. Parents never stop worrying about their children, even after they grow up. But imagine if you're a child's carer, even in adulthood. Families looking after adults with complex disabilities say they live in fear of what will happen when they're no longer around.
Yeah, and research by the charity Sense suggests only 1 in 3 local authorities know how many disabled adults are being cared for by their families. Well, with us now to talk through this is Kate Fitch, who's Head of Policy at Sense, and also Inga Ahmed, who is a carer for her 35-year-old daughter, Noreen, who joins us this morning as well. Thank you very much for joining us. Inga, tell us a bit about what life is like for you and Noreen.
Good morning. Yes, Noreen is now 35, and she is a delightful girl. She really is. She has got a lovely sense of humour. But of course, with me getting older, it's becoming more difficult to care for her. I find I'm not as strong, and Noreen getting older, she's not quite as strong as she used to be either. So I find it's getting harder. I still walk her, as I call it. We move Noreen. She moves her legs, so I can walk with her, and I take her upstairs to bed. But I don't think I can do it much longer. So we have made provisions to have her, you know, downstairs to be able to continue to care for her.
Yeah, and we're just looking at pictures, Inga, of you with Noreen. Wonderful pictures of you, but you can see how physical it is. And as you say, this is putting a lot of pressure on you. So, I mean, you must be worried, are you, about what's going to happen next?
This is the terrifying bit, to be quite honest. I can barely think of it, and I find that I resist doing something about it, because I know I have to look at residential care, but I just don't want to. I have a real battle there. It's really a terrifying thought what will happen next.
Yeah, well, of course, it's heartbreaking.
Sorry, carry on, Inga.
Yeah. Yes. You know, I worry because my daughter is rather quiet. She has no speech, so she doesn't talk, but she's also very quiet. And I'm sort of thinking, you know, they might put her in some corner and forget about her because she is so quiet, and that would be just awful because she's such a lovely girl.
Yeah.
With us in the studio, Kate Fitch, who's from the disability charity Sense. That puts it all really in perspective, doesn't it? Inga is terrified by the prospects of the future, to the point at which, by her own admission, she's saying she almost doesn't want to think about it.
And this story is typical of many that we've heard over the course of the last year when we've been looking into this issue. This is parents who have children with often very complex disabilities. They spend their whole lives caring for these children, giving them the best life possible and giving them a life that they want. But they're getting older themselves, and they're painfully aware that they can't keep caring. So many are frightened about the future, and despite being frightened, as we've heard, very few feel that they're able to put plans in place for the future.
OK, so talk us, we can see the problem and how difficult it is. Talk us through, what is available and what should be available.
So families at the moment aren't getting any support from local authorities to think through what their options are for the future. They're often very confused about what their options are because we have a very complex health and social care system. So really what there should be is an opportunity for families to work with local authorities to choose the right care for the individual in question, because at the heart of all of this needs to be the disabled person and how they want to live and what they want for the future.
So just talk this through with us. We'll ask Inga in just a moment. So someone who's in that situation goes to their local authority and says, this is the situation, I'm worried about the future, talk to me. What happens next?
Well, local authorities should be telling them that they need to put a plan in place. But we know that local authorities at the moment are under tremendous pressure to meet need. They've had cuts to their funding over the last years. So a lot of them really would like to do much more for these families, but actually because the resource isn't there in the system, what they're having to do is to just lean on families more and more. And we know demands are increasing, there's more people living much longer with disabilities, which is fantastic, but at the same time the support just isn't there for families like Inga and Noreen who are coping on a day-to-day basis.
And Inga, have you talked to your local authority at all about this?
I had a social worker who sort of came and she said you need to make plans, and I can only agree with her, but as I said, it's very difficult. Also, you know, I might well find a residential care where I think she might be okay, but hopefully I can continue caring for my daughter. So maybe in 5-10 years' time, the centre might have changed, the manager has changed, the atmosphere has changed, and it will be no good again. So, you know, you feel, is it even worth me doing all this? And then in a few years' time, it's no good anymore anyway, you know.
Yeah, it's really worrying for you, Inga. Thank you so much for talking to us, and it was wonderful to see those shots there of you with Nerine earlier as well. So thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Okay, thank you for your time as well. Time now is 8:31.